You?
Hey Fox, look at me, man. My daddy's the whole dag hunter.
A little while ago, I tweeted that I had just watched the worst film I've ever seen. What is that film, you might ask, if you haven't already checked the title above the video? No! No! No, no, no! No! Don't ever do that again. It is the cleverly titled Backwoods Bloodbath. See? The pun is in woods. Clever. It's a film that won the Best Horror Feature at the New York Independent Film Festival, so you know it's going to be good. What? I'm not taking a shot at anybody. It's your own overactive imagination. Anyway, before I get on to that, there are some people out there right now who are probably wondering what has happened to Bond Month. At least you would be thinking that if you followed me on Twitter. For those of you who don't know, I've been asked to produce the Mike J horror comedy pen film Nerd Quest. It's a horror film that's going to feature a lot of the UK channel awesome talent. But in undertaking the role, I had no idea how much work was involved with the role. Because you see, this is the script for Nerd Quest. And notes and general ideas, rough ideas for posters, etc. These are my notes for my James Bond month. Not as thick, but you can clearly see here they are. A bit of writing there as well. Quite simply, it is impossible for me right now to devote the time and attention I want to Bond month. It's something I want to do right and something I want to do well. I don't want to release it if I don't think it's right. And that goes for the Soul retrospective as well. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do them. Both are still coming. I've already put together a number of the videos, but I won't release them unless I'm 100% happy with them, and right now, I'm not. So I'm going to delay both of them for a while, but I stress, they are both still coming, with the Soul retrospective now immediately following the conclusion of Bond Month. So if you want to blame someone for there being no Bond Month at this time, blame this guy because I do too. Now the reason I mention Nerd Quest, which begins filming in June of this year by the way, 2012, is we're not kidding ourselves. We are amateurs, and some of us can barely act to save our lives, others, me included, cannot act to save their lives. I'm perfectly fine admitting that. But, with all these factors working against us, no matter what, there is no way in hell that Nerd Quest is going to be worse than this. I know I don't usually look at the bad films, but as this film was recommended to me and I paid a good £7 to purchase it, I felt it deserved to be talked about. Oh dear God, does it deserve to be talked about. You see, my thinking behind it is it's an attempt at a comedy horror, an attempt at a tongue-in-cheek horror, a throwback to the horror slashers of the 1970s and 80s. Those films, when you take the nostalgia goggles off, weren't all that great. It's just the legacy they've left behind that leaves the impact, and those films had the luxury of being filmed at a simpler time, in a simpler place. So surely, it's possible for me to look at this film in the same light. Yes, it is, and I still don't like it. The film opens with Vince and an unnamed girl who I'll just call Girl who's way out of his league, and there is no way in hell she would ever be with him if this was real life. Or, I don't know, Barn Girl, considering that's what she's called in the credits. Meeting up in a mill in the middle of the woods for some of that crazy horror sex that usually spells death for the persons involved. And I question the logistics of this relationship due to the conversation they have right from the off.
What do you think?
I'm thinking, what are we doing up here in your dad's mill?
If you need to clarify exactly what happened, his very attractive, half-naked girlfriend asked him for a compliment, and he questioned their current location. I can see this relationship wasn't founded on strength of personality. You would think he might have questioned this on the way to the mill, or maybe when she was outside taking her clothes off. But no, he felt the perfect time to ask about their location was when she was standing in front of him, wearing basically nothing. Okay, do you see why I find it so hard to buy into this relationship? Also, get used to the audio mix from the film because this isn't the first time bad dubbing and loud music will play a factor. Vince, despite having an attractive half-naked girl draped over his body, is distracted by a strange smell and a noise from up above, which is enough for him to disentangle himself from Barn Girl and scale a ladder to investigate. With no answer from Vince, Barn Girl follows him up, and I'm assuming the direction she was given here was to wiggle her ass as much as possible. call it a hunch. And her fate is that of Vince's, and she dies, indicated by the blood, which then for some reason turns into syrup, and neither of these characters are spoken of again. As openings go, I'll admit I've seen worse.
I killed my grandmother.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic.
So compared to those, this opening isn't bad, and every horror film needs a good opening or a hook to draw in its audience. It leaves an air of mystery as to what exactly was up there, leaving the question of whether it was a man or a beast. The biggest problem I had with the opening, acting aside, is the music, which plays so loudly that it makes it very hard to hear what the actors are actually saying, which is even more of a puzzle when you consider that a lot of that scene was dubbed. And believe me, this isn't the only time I'm going to call attention to this. After a short title sequence and a little montage, we're introduced to our team of horror heroes, or in this case, standard horror stereotypes. Mark, who likes taking photos, doesn't really talk to anyone, and doesn't like joining in. Good girl Jess, a long-time friend of Mark's, with thoughts of more than friendship on her mind. Becky, the token slut, but she's a redhead, so I'm perfectly okay with that, and I'm already pulling for her survival. Cooper, whose sole purpose of the film is to get drunk, so naturally I want him to survive too. Bisexual Paul, the token black guy of the group, and Jess's ex-boyfriend, Rafa Nadal, also known as Brent, who cheated on Jess with Becky, and is the stereotypical jock. So in horror conventions, with all that baggage, this is the perfect group to go away together.
Hey, did she mention what, 2 chicks?
I know it's weird to see a college student still carrying that jock mentality, but I've known people in their 40s who still have that kind of attitude, so this actually makes Brent the most believable character of the bunch for me. And having every horror cliche covered, I'm actually amazed at the restraint shown in not putting Mark in glasses, seeing he is clearly the token nerd of the group. Excellent restraint movie. Trust me, when we get the Turtles from Space reboot, just to show Donatello is the smart one, you'll see him wearing glasses all the time. Trust me. The story follows a group of college graduates who went to high school together, coming together after the death of a mutual friend, called Eric, and are taking a weekend away in a cabin in the woods to get drunk, high, and mourn his loss. As horror films go, it is cliche, but then that is the film's MO. On their way to the cabin, the group duck into a convenience store where loud, annoying music, which I think is supposed to be a play on country music, makes it very hard to hear what they're actually saying to each other.
Is that how you're getting his boobs in toilet paper?
And the locals paint themselves as quite the stereotypical odd bunch when Cooper talks to an old guy and the old guy... Let me play that again. Cooper is holding the toilet roll. The old man takes it. Cooper questions it. Okay, let's just say these people are extravagant. It's, nicer than saying they're nuts. Even though they clearly are. The store owner lets them know that he doesn't like them, quite politely actually, and that they're basically driving to their deaths, with subtlety being the key to his delivery and performance here.
That's on the house of me going to hell of a last night.
Well, I guess you could call it that if you actually understood what he was saying, and this is a big problem I have with the film. I'm fine with it going for the tongue-in-cheek vibe. I'm fine with it trying to pass itself off as a comedy, but it would help if the actors were mic'd because the damn music makes it very hard to hear them. The cast are a clear bunch of stereotypes and the setup is a horror standard for this type of film, and it's following the blueprint to the letter. But even in those old 70s and 80s films, you could still actually understand what was being said. After some more driving, which is padded with yet another short music sequence, the group arrive at the cabin where they meet the cabin owner, Brick.
Dick?
College graduates, ladies and gentlemen. And Brick has one rule.
Don't drink my fucking syrup.
He sounds like a young Mr. Plinkett.
What's wrong with your face?
Brick leaves and is never seen again, which makes this scene totally pointless from a character standpoint, with his purpose only being to inform the cast that cell phones don't work, but they do have a landline, but that information could easily have been passed over to them just by leaving a note. It didn't need to introduce a new character for this, and it's a new character that adds nothing to the film. After spending the afternoon settling in that night, the group head to the local bar where Mark apparently doesn't want to drink, but a minute later he's shown drinking. So it's nice to see the movie maintain a form of consistency. A couple of local guys called Duke and Doug drop in and start harassing a character we don't know yet, and the first hints at the film's main antagonist are actually revealed.
My daddy's the whole day hunter.
Now, forewarning, prepare yourself for some grade A acting.
Hey everybody, they just found Dick Freeman's truck flipped over on Highway 8.
Who the hell's Dick Freeman? Harass guy, named Scott, now reveals a little of the history of the woods and more importantly the beast that stalks them, the Hodag, all revealed in flashback red for some reason, which details his father's history of hunting a beast which eventually killed him. Now at this point I kind of felt the film was going for this Jeepers Creepers vibe in talking about the villain instead of actually showing it, which works, because I think the majority would agree that when they finally did show the creeper, that's when things went downhill. In this case, I question the film in terms of its story right from this point because the locals all drop hints that this thing has been hunting the woods for a very long time, which begs the question, why would you set up a bar near a surefire death trap? And why has it never killed the people who live near the woods? The characters all comment on the hunting season, but yet they've never been killed by this thing. Yeah, the argument could be made that this is a tongue-in-cheek sort of comedy, but it needs to have some form of sense because it's not a spoof or a parody. As the group leave, they encounter two drunk guys, who don't get names, so I'll just call them Bill and Ted. Apparently it's possible in this universe to get drunk and wasted while drinking nothing but milk. If that's true, that does actually explain a lot about my life, as I do drink an awful lot of milk. The Hodag puts in his first real appearance of the film and kills Ted, whose screams are heard back at the cabin where the girls discover the landline is now dead.
Phone's dead.
Wow, she really seems concerned. Anyway, as far as horror conventions go, we have the slut, the jock, the black man, the outcast, the party animal, the good girl. No cell phone signal, no telephone line, and pull in a bra? I can't talk. And now for a quick message. Are you one of those people who are prone to total freakouts when someone says something like Michael Bay's Transformer films or the Star Wars prequels were total shit? Then you don't want to watch The Nostalgia Critic.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to.
The Nostalgia Critic. Watch a 30-year-old man with a rapidly receding hairline talk about old films and shows while he screams and yells a lot. Over. And over.
Is nobody thinking about the dad?
And over. All in the name of comedy. Only available on That Guy with the Glasses, Springboard, and YouTube. I would say he's on Blip, but we all know Blip are absolutely shit. The Nostalgia Critic. He says the things he says so you don't take them seriously. Because only a complete idiot would take what this man says seriously. And now back to our regular scheduled programming. With the disturbance over and the girls not informing the guys that the line is dead, the film shows all the characters going to bed, which is obviously very important, and Becky and Paul have sex, I think. Well, they squirt each other with syrup, which I assume is a metaphor, and they're still clothed, so it's obviously a very messy metaphor. The next morning, we get another music montage showing the characters getting up, washing, showering, and then we meet a girl we've never seen before camping in the woods. We see her wake up, we see her stretching, and then we see her dead and tied to a tree. I remind you that this thing has been killing for a very long time and usually eats its victims. So what does bloodying a character we've never seen before and then tying that same character to a tree for all to see in broad daylight accomplish? Absolutely nothing. We don't know this character, we have no investment in this character, and the main cast didn't even meet this character, which makes the death completely pointless and adds nothing really to the story. It just shows the Hodag killing, but they've already showed the Hodag killing. What more do you need from that? But it does allow me a brief segue into something I want to talk about just briefly. And if anybody out there can enlighten me on this, please do. Tell me, who the hell is that? And who the hell is that? I mean, she could be Becky, but the hair doesn't match, and we never see Becky dressed like this or in this position, so it must be this character, just clothed and with her hair down. So why is she on the DVD cover? Back to the film. Get ready for some more grade A acting, as Brent discovers his tires have been slashed. Naturally, he blames Mark.
What are you talking about? My fucking tires are slashed as shit.
It's almost like he forgot his line.
Brent, let him go.
Jesus Christ, I know I sound boring half the time, but even I can emote better than her. Still, it's a good thing they have their priorities sorted.
If there's no car, that means we can't buy any fucking beer.
I like Cooper. The group, now with no car and no phone, decide to go for help or just go for a walk, with Brent and Paul going off in one direction, Becky and Cooper staying at the cabin, and Mark and Jess going off in another, getting a chance to bond with what has to be some of the most awkwardly stilted dialogue and delivery I've ever heard.
All the time.
Really?
Yeah, I can see you from my window pretty much every night. I especially like that little pink leopard thing you had.
Oh my god.
So he's basically admitting to watching her change from his window. And she thinks this is cute. Does it work that way in real life too?
Oh my god. You fucking bastard, what are you smiling at? Stop it! What the fuck?
Yeah, I guess not.